may very well have thought that in me they would have found perfection. If that were the case, I could have said from quite early that you had the wrong man. I am not perfect. No human being is perfect, ladies and gentlemen. And to expect perfection in the conduct of public affairs is perhaps expecting a little too much. I was not perfect in the governance of Trinidad and Tobago, and I'm sure that along the way, it is not possible for any leader, to conduct the affairs of any country and for such a long time without, by the decisions that he makes, initiates, or for which he holds responsibility, not adversely affecting some people. There would have been some people who have been hurt or otherwise disenfranchised by actions that he may have taken or actions taken by the government that he headed. And in my case, it certainly is so. So I think this is an appropriate time for me to apologize to all of those who freely or who have felt disenfranchised by any actions I may have taken over the years as Prime Minister or in any other capacity. I wish to humbly apologize to all of them and to say to Trinidad and Tobago, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, I am sorry. Subsequent to my departure from the office of leader and my return to the very salubrious surroundings of San Fernando, I can say to you that it took me 4 full months to fully recover from the rigors of the office of leader. I worked very hard and tirelessly, and in fact, for those of you and previous members of the cabinet who are here will know that I slept an average of about 4 hours a night. It took me 4 months, ladies and gentlemen, to fully recover. I'm not complaining. I am not complaining. I rather enjoyed the job. And I enjoyed seeing the country progress and progress significantly as a result of actions that I may have taken or actions taken by the cabinet of which I have been a part and for which we all have a collective responsibility. But the circumstances changed in me, and I knew that I could not continue with business as usual. It could not be. It could not be. The PNM elected a new leader, Dr. Rowley has been elected political leader, and with my total support that took place. I want to repeat, it took place with my total support. I supported him then, and I continue to support him now. We should make that absolutely clear. And I understood, and I understood very well, nobody had to explain it to me, that since there was a new leader of the PNM, I could not continue to conduct my business as though no change had taken place. A significant change had indeed taken place. I therefore decided that I would be silent for a while, seeking to do nothing that will appear to undermine the authority of our new leader, or to, in any way, seek to detract from the efforts that he undoubtedly will make to chart his own course and to outline his own set of policies as he sees it appropriate, some of which I'm sure would have been different from those that I had outlined in the past. I thought that I would do nothing to detract from that. Not only was I silent, ladies and gentlemen, but I stayed away from all party fora outside of those in my own constituency. I did not attend the General Council. I did not attend conventions of the PNM. Could you imagine my not attending conventions of the PNM? That is almost unheard of. It is almost sacrilegious, but that's what I had to do. That's what I thought I had to do. And that is what I willingly did in the interest, my dear friends, of allowing our new leader to chart his own way and not have to look over his shoulder every 5 minutes for a past leader whose days had already gone. So that's what I did. And as it now stands, I was just giving Dr. Rowley enough time to settle. The position in the PNM today, my dear friends, needs to stabilize a little further. And therefore, that policy that I had enunciated then will continue. I propose to continue along those lines for some time longer. In relation to the country, I pursued a similar course of action because there was a new Prime Minister, there was a new government, and I thought that the government should be given time to settle down and give them the time. They will make mistakes, as all governments do from time to time. Even though this government has made a disproportionate amount of mistakes expected of it, but that's a separate issue. And I thought they should be given an opportunity for their direction to become much, much clearer. It is now 1 year and 5 months later, and the direction that the government is seeking to take Trinidad and Tobago is now very, very clear. It is clear to me, ladies and gentlemen, and I believe it is very clear to many members of the national community. It is very, very clear. And if I told you it is a direction with which I am in agreement, I will be less than honest. I disagree, and I disagree almost totally with the direction in which this government is taking Trinidad and Tobago at this time. It's important that we know that. And therefore, the self-imposed silence had to be reviewed. And I thought that the time has now come for me to intervene in the affairs of the nation of Trinidad and Tobago. I am a member of Parliament. I have a responsibility to my constituents and to the national community, and it is a responsibility that I am determined to discharge. But I must say, I do not propose to act like a mongrel, that is to say, a pot-hum. It is not my intention to run after every car that passes, not at all, my dear friend. What I propose to do is to intervene judiciously from time to time as I consider appropriate. Remember, I am not the political leader of the People's National Movement, and I am not the leader of the opposition. And I am quite happy with that position, incidentally. I am quite happy with that position. I propose to intervene, therefore, judiciously from time to time. And this press conference that we are holding here today, this press conference is really the first in a series of press conferences that I intend to host, and to deal with issues, not scattering the shot all over the place, but to be as focused as I can, and to try to focus the national attention on issues that are relevant to the country's governance and to the conditions of life of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So we are going to be focused. That's the intention. As we conduct this press conference today, therefore, I'd like to say to members of the media that I'd like you at the question time, which is not going to be too long from now, I'd like you at question time to question only on matters raised this morning. Only on matters raised this morning. And to the extent that you would like to raise questions outside of that, I can say to you that you will have the opportunity in subsequent press conferences to do that. But if you wish to submit questions to me, I can address those questions subsequently in an engagement similar to this. However you wish to play it is entirely up to you. You will be the dealers in that regard, and it is a question of dealer's choice. I should say one other thing before getting into the meat of the matter before us today. What have I done for the last year and 5 months? Some of you may believe that I have been home twiddling my thumbs. That is not correct. It will not be correct to say that. My thumbs would have been worn to the bone by now, and as you can see, they're not quite here. But I have quietly looked at Trinidad and Tobago. I consider myself to be in a unique position to examine the requirements of this country from a developmental perspective and to seek to bring my thoughts to bear on that most important aspect of our lives. Politics, my dear friends, is the development of the people. That's all it is about. It is about the development of the people of the country. And it is to that that I have sought to engage my attention. So that I have a lot of views, not that I wish to express at this time, but I have a lot of views about the direction of Trinidad and Tobago in the future, the direction in which the country should go. And I can tell you this. It reminds me a lot of what I had gone through in 1987 when I was first appointed leader of the opposition. Well, after the election results came in December, I realized that that was what was likely to happen. For those of you who remember that story, those events, we lived in Marbella at the time, and I would sit night after night in the garage next to the car, alone on a chair, thinking future through, because it was clear to me I was going to be called upon to do a job for which I was not prepared and for which I didn't think I had the capability. But as I thought, I saw all kinds of new directions, and after a short while, a few days, 5-6 days, I was overcome. The despair that I initially had experienced gave way to an excitement, ladies and gentlemen. And I began to view the events of December 1986, when the PNM lost an election for the first time, not as the catastrophe as many people had started to see it, but I began to see a set of opportunities that I may not have seen before. On this occasion, ladies and gentlemen, it is no different. It is no different. As I think through the future of Trinidad and Tobago, I would like to say to the national community that I consider the future of this country to be extremely bright. I want to repeat it again. I consider the future of this country to be extremely bright. But for that brilliance to be realized, it will require the expeditious departure from office of the current government of the People's Party. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, things are going to get worse, and significantly worse, before they get better. Things are going to get worse before they get better. And that therefore takes me to an examination of some of the issues before the national community. Today, we are living in a state of emergency with a curfew. The government has said that they thought it necessary to take this course of action because of the crime situation in the country. That's what the government has said. There's a report of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime and the Latin American Caribbean region of the World Bank, a joint report on the Caribbean, dated March 2007. And in the executive summary, at paragraph 2, it reads as follows. It's paragraph designated 2. It reads as follows. While levels of crime and associated circumstances vary by country, the strongest explanation for the relatively high rates of crime and violence rates in the region and the apparent rise in recent years is narcotics trafficking. The drug trade drives crime in a number of ways through violence tied to trafficking, by normalizing illegal behavior, by diverting criminal justice resources from other activities, by provoking property crime related to addiction, by contributing to the widespread availability of firearms, and by undermining and corrupting societal institutions. That's what the drug trade does to a country. This is what the authors of this report from the World Bank and the UN Office on Drugs and Crime had to say. Elsewhere in the report, on page 59 at paragraph 4.53, this is what we had to say, ladies and gentlemen. The regression results suggest very large potential gains from reduction in violence for Haiti and Jamaica, the two countries in the region with the highest murder rates. The coefficient estimate implies that both countries could boost economic growth per capita by 5.4% per year if they were to bring their homicide rates down to the levels of Costa Rica. What they really meant is 5.4 percentage points. Guyana and Dominican Republic would also benefit substantially with potential growth rate increases of 1.7 and 1.8% respectively. What they are saying, therefore, is if Haiti and the Dominican, it's Haiti and Jamaica. If Haiti and Jamaica are able to bring their murder rates down to the rates existing in Costa Rica. They will experience an increase in their GDP per capita of 5.4 percentage points. Nothing to be scoffed at all, ladies and gentlemen, in countries that are operating excuse me, with reduced economic performance aggravated by the developments outside of the region in the year 2008, and which is having a sequel now as a consequence of what is taking place in Europe and in the United States, a country in which unemployment now has hit 9%, one of the highest in its history. So the crime trade, narcotics trafficking, is not to be taken lightly, and therefore it is the narcotics trafficking that I would like us to turn our attention this morning. There was a report in the newspapers, and I think, let me just quote here. The article is dated the 12th of June 2011. It is published under the byline of one Anika Gums Sandford, and this is what it has to say. The Prime Minister's hand-picked choice for chairman of a state board has been assisting police in connection with a $2 million marijuana haul. The recent appointment of the well-known businessman to the board has left some members of the cabinet in shock over the decision and even raised eyebrows among concerned party supporters. The board member, who is reportedly said to be the preferred choice in spite of concerns raised by certain supporters, was in April quizzed by the Organized Crime and Narcotics Unit, OCNU, in relation to the marijuana bust at the Point Lisa Sport over the Easter weekend. The police discovered close to $2 million worth of compressed marijuana in the container belonging to the popular businessman. The TNT Mirror on September the 18th, 2011 had this to say, and in April, a container consigned to Achievos Enterprises Limited of San Fernando was found to contain more than $2 million worth of marijuana hidden among foreign used car parts at Point Lisas. Ladies and gentlemen, this development seemed to be very embarrassing to members of the ruling party, because the article, Sunday Guardian publication, also went on to say, top party sources have revealed to Sunday Guardian that the board member played an integral role in the children's gift distribution during the Christmas season last year. This entire situation is really embarrassing. This appointment is not sitting right at all. This particular individual was recently helping police with investigations regarding an illegal operation, and now he is a board member. It is not looking right. We fought an election on transparency, and we must live up to this. Quite frankly, this particular board member has no right sitting on a state board, given the current investigation a top party source revealed. Several attempts to contact the Prime Minister for comment on the matter proved futile. The question is this, my dear friends: what has become of the investigations? What has become of the investigations? We would like to know. And on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, I demand an answer to that question. The container, ladies and gentlemen, came from Jamaica. And let me tell you this. I think it is now known that there seems to be a group of people in Jamaica tampering with containers and putting things in containers. That's only part of the story. The other part is that there are some businessmen who collaborate with such a group in Jamaica to assist in the transshipment of drugs. The question is which is which. And any businessman who is caught in activities of this nature, when questioned by the police, says, well, it's not my job, I know nothing about that. they tampered with a container that was consigned to me, and that is where policing comes in. Everybody says that. I know of nobody who will ask will say, well, here is my drugs, that's my marijuana. Who will say that, ladies and gentlemen? You know anybody will say that? No. So the mere fact that somebody denies it does not mean to say that it is not so. It is a matter for police investigation, and that is why we demand an answer to the question. And let somebody, authoritatively the government, tell us what has happened to these investigations. Let it not be said that we have heard nothing because the government is trying to protect one of its own. Let that not be said. I wish to draw your attention also to an article published on Wednesday, the 21st of September. I think this is the Guardian also, under the byline of a journalist called Radhika Subraj. This is what it had to say. This was revealed in part, and I quote, this was revealed by senior investigators yesterday who admitted to hitting a stump following the discovery of $34.6 million worth of high-grade Arizona marijuana inside a 40-foot container on September the 15th. On September the 15th? Well, let me finish the quotation first. The marijuana was stacked among frozen chicken parts and was consigned to a prominent sugar-honest businessman. It was the fourth such bust to have occurred at the port in the space of 6 months. Yet, no arrests have been made in connection with any of the incidents. Not 2 million now, 34.6 million. Detectives from the organization, the article goes on to say elsewhere, detectives from the Organized Crime and Narcotics Unit who have taken charge of the investigation said they were working on several leads with regard to the drug bust. Okay? I should tell you that about a month ago, there was also a news item on radio and television which said that they had made a breakthrough in these investigations and that arrests were expected shortly. It is now 1 month. There have been no arrests. We are asking the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, why is this so? What is the state of the investigations? Where have these investigations reached? And who is culpable? Once again, well, before I say that, let me also say that the TNT Mirror identified the company involved to be a company called Vasha Foods of Freeport, Central Trinidad. TNT Mirror identified the company. We call on the government to let the national community know what is the state of these investigations. Why is it that notwithstanding an announcement that arrests were to be made shortly as a result of a breakthrough in the investigations, that no arrests have as yet been made? We would like to know. And on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, I demand an answer to that question. The third matter that I wanted to, third and final matter that I wanted to raise in this our first press conference today is a statement made by the President General of the Seamen and Waterfront Workers Trade Union, Mr. Michael Anisat, who I think is also the President General of NATUC, in a press conference. And I think I better quote it so that I do not misquote anybody. Let me quote what he said here. The President of the Seamen and Waterfront Workers Trade Union claims he knows of at least 13 containers of drugs at the port of Point Desus. At a news conference yesterday, Michael Anisat said government must now deal with how drugs and guns are entering the country. Mr. Anisat is also saying that some of his members have been offered bribes to clear the drugs at the port, which means that people know about it. They are drugs. When contacted, Plibdeco said it was not aware of any drugs at the port as Plibdeco. they call loan for the time being. And the NATO president went on to make other comments. The president of NATO, the president of the SWWT, which is the union that deals with workers on the port of Point Lisas, has said that he is aware of 13 containers containing drugs on the port. The question I want to ask is this: have these containers been gone into by the authorities? And if not, why not? And if they have been gone into, what have you found in those containers? And to whom were those containers consigned? We would like to know. We would like to know who is culpable in seeking to bring these drugs into Trinidad and Tobago. The President General of the Union has made it clear that he is aware of 13 containers of drugs on the port. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, when you look at the $2 million drug bust, and you look at the $34.6 million drug bust, and you look at 13 containers on the port, and that these three are by no means exhaustive, you begin to ask yourself the question: what is the role of the government of Trinidad and Tobago in the drug trade? What is the role of the government of Trinidad and Tobago in the drug trade? Is the government playing a role in it? Are members of the government involved in it? We don't know. We would like to know. And we would like somebody authoritative to come forward and answer the questions that we've asked this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not my intention to raise too many things at one session. These are the matters I wanted to raise this morning. And in therefore closing, I would like to thank you very sincerely once again for coming and for being as patient as you have been in listening to what I have to say, and to advise the media that I'm prepared to field a few questions now on matters that have been raised. And I turn it back over to Mr. Wong. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have question time, and we will proceed like this. If you have a question to ask, then you do so by raising your hand, and when you are given the opportunity with the mic, the cordless mic, kindly say the media house that you are from and your name as well. We'll give you a chance to answer one follow-up question to the question that you have asked, and we want to have all questions answered by everybody. There may be a chance, depending on the time, for you to ask more than one question. So the floor is now open for questions, and we have the first.
Good afternoon, Chester Sembrano, I-95.5 FM. Mr. Manning, now that you have finally broken your silence, is it now that we can expect you taking part in debates in the Parliament?
I had said in the discourse earlier that I would intervene judiciously. I also said that I don't propose to run after every car that passes. But the answer to that question is yes, from time to time.
CNC3. Mr. Manning, seeing that you have broke your silence on this since the election, since you were debated from office, would it be that you have gotten permission from the executive to conduct these press conferences?
Yesterday, I spoke to the Opposition Chief Whip, Ms. Marlene MacDonald, and I advised her of the course of action I contemplated, which is all that is required of a Member of Parliament really to advise. I did so, and I asked her if she could be kind enough to draw to the attention of the political leader and other members of the party's leadership. I am a member of the Parliamentary Caucus, and I report to the Opposition Chief Whip, and that is what I did yesterday.
Mr. Manning, what is the relationship between yourself and Dr. Rowley this time?
It's a good relationship. Why?
I'm just asking.
I'm sorry?
I'm just asking.
Yeah, but you shouldn't ask in that tone of voice.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll change my tone of voice. But I'm raising the question because there's been a lot of, let's say, rumors, people talking that there may be some sort of, you know, lapse in the transmission in the PNM, the fraction, there may be another fraction, I'm just, you know.
But I also understand that my wife was living at the Hyatt, so say
Any other questions?
This is the deal with the whole issue of the drug trade. Is it that you believe, is it that you believe that the government may have a particular part to play in the drug trade in Trinidad?
Did I say that this morning? I asked the question. Let us await answers, please, before we come to conclusion. Is that fair?
Thank you very much, sir.
All right. We seem to have exhausted the questions. I feel certain that you have a lot on your plate at this point in time. Oh, there is one other question.
Mr. Manning, Lanthorn from TV6. Does this mean that you will be now attending other PNM caucus meetings or rallies?
No, I made it clear that my posture as a leader of the party will not change. I think the party needs to stabilize a little more before I can do that. That policy, my attitude, the policy stays the same.
I think the concern is that creates some sort of divisiveness, or kind of they're concerned about whether there are some issues that's not resolved.
Well, you know, whatever you do in this country, there will always be those who will see something adverse in it, and therefore, an adverse comment on my actions is not something which I'm entirely accustomed. I have taken that course of action because I think it is in the best interest. I mean, I have been a political leader myself, and I know what is involved in it. And if I chose to stay away, it is because I understand what the new political leader has to face, and therefore I choose to do nothing to cause him any anxiety or anything that will be detrimental to the successful conduct of his responsibilities and the leadership of the PNM.
And the member has said that he fully supports the political leader and is fully in support of the party. And so that I think we can move on from that to the other questions, if you all don't mind, the other areas.
Susan Mohammed from Trinidad Express. Mr. Manning, you apologize for imperfections. What imperfections? Can you speak more about that, please?
I am not a psychologist, ma'am, and it is not for me to decide what those imperfections are. I was very careful not to go into any details of it. If one doesn't see things as an imperfection, somebody else may see it as different, and so the case. Maybe we need not get involved in that argument this morning. Whatever imperfections that people perceive, I apologize for that, and we move on.
Hi, morning, Mr. Manning. Kadisha Manor from CNLG. You said that TNT has a very bright future ahead of it, but for this to happen, you need the expeditious departure of the current administration.
Correct.
And things are going to get a lot worse before they get better. What are some of your predictions in terms of things getting worse before they get better?
I don't wish to be a prophet of gloom and doom. Nor do I intend to be associated with any self-fulfilling prophecy. So it is better if we just leave it at that. That is my view. That's what I think, but it is for the authorities to ensure that that does not take place, and I hope that they succeed.
All right, Mr. Manning, I've been pushed to ask this question by someone.
Don't allow anybody to push you.
Would you like to tell us your personal take on the emblem of the Balize on the tie?
Well, that matter, the answer to the question is no, I wouldn't like to tell.
But in any case, that matter was not raised in the
Ivan.
No, I was pushed.
Could we just...
Okay, back to the whole issue of the drug trade, Mr. Manning. What are your thoughts on how this current government is dealing with the drug trade in terms of their crime-fighting efforts against the drug trade?
There are going to be subsequent press conferences, and we will deal with some of those matters subsequently. There's a lot to be dealt with on this issue. There's a lot to be dealt with in this issue. There's a lot. There are different aspects of it, you know. We haven't discussed this morning, for example, the efforts that were put in place to treat with this before. We haven't discussed that at all. We haven't discussed this morning the way the state of emergency is being used and the curfew in the context of the drug trade. We haven't discussed that. There are so many other things we have to discuss, so let's take it a little at a time.
In terms of the, you said we didn't discuss a lot of things that were supposed to be put in place. Can you tell us, do you think the cancellation of the OPPs have led to an increase in the, the importation of drugs?
We'll answer that question subsequently. That is a matter that I will deal with subsequently. For the time being, let's restrict our consideration to the issues that have been raised. We want to be all over the place. Let's focus on what we're dealing with.
Mr. Manning, quick question. State of emergency, drug trade. Do you think that the state of emergency is working? Do you think that they are making headway in terms of seizing all these drugs and ammunitions and guns? What's your take on it?
Well, to be able to come to a conclusion as to whether the state of emergency is working, I will first have to know what was the purpose for declaring the state of emergency. As of now, that has not been said. Next press conference, we'll give you that, okay?
All right. It looks as though we have exhausted the questions. I'm sure you have a lot to report on. And we thank you again for coming and for asking your questions. And we look forward to the reports that will appear in the media from today onwards. Thank you all very, very much, ladies and gentlemen. And a special thank you to our former Prime Minister.